He started.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, June 9th. If everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Before us, we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
Yes, Mr. President, I need to add a new business number 4. I will call it COVID employees, for lack of a better name. And I will also be taking off administrator number 2, as I have a meeting coming up with Sheriff Meyer and to just go over some numbers. They're still in the midst of a contract negotiation, so nothing firm, but they've tried their best, so it behooves me to take a look at it along with what I have.
Okay. Any other changes?
Yeah, I'd like to change fire department number 3 to the paper copy I placed up there. The one in the agenda is, we changed the total on there.
Okay. Any other?
Do you need to add anything about the Salvation Army?
It's under Sheriff's report.
Then
Got it.
I'm going to do 3 and 4 under concerns of trustees. First is just Stark Soil and Water, and then 4 is Royal Ox. Any other changes? The agenda will stand as amended. It brings us to actually, before we get to our first topic, the law director, Eric Williams, is excused tonight. He had a personal matter to attend to. Tom, did you have something else, or you're good?
I'm good.
I thought I'd seen the hand.
No,
Sorry.
no.
Okay. That'll allow us to start with the sheriff's report. Sergeant Coe. Go ahead.
Smile, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Good evening, everyone. Before you should have the May 2020 Plain Township monthly report. Our calls for service were at 1,514 crashes. We handled 13 for the month, 1 crash with injury. Our alarms response, we had 74 alarms, 14 traffic stops, 29 citations, and 22 arrests. We completed 37 vacation checks. Detective Ross had 6 cases assigned and listed the 2 that he was able to close. You should have your year-to-year as well as the yearly, since we started this, 2013 actually, but should be before you there. Any questions?
Just kudos for some of the, I'll call it silent response based upon the last 2 weeks, approximately, of activities. You guys are not in a fun position, so appreciate everything you're doing to take care of your own, let alone the folks in the community. I know, I think just speaking to it, I mean, what you guys do, you execute what legislators do. So to the point that demonstrating is one thing, but some of the crap that we're seeing, and that's exactly what it is with the vandalism and so forth. I don't care if it's public or private property. That's not protesting. So the fact that you guys are dealing with stuff, I mean, where nobody else is expected to, it's okay because you got a uniform, somebody to get right in your face, and you still have to keep that utmost self-control. Just again, respects and props for what you guys are doing for us.
We greatly appreciate it, and I think it speaks volumes of the professionalism that we preach to our guys, and they go out in the field and execute it every day. So appreciate it.
It's all about that culture,
That's right.
creating good culture. It shows it on the street.
Yep.
Hey Rob, just as a point of clarification, did we end up filing a
Thanks.
report with the sheriff's office regarding the,
Eric and I are connecting to check the video, and then I'll file once we check the video.
I'm sorry.
I have not yet. I'm going to check the video with Eric, and then we'll file.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for the record, we had vandalism at Alino Community Park Saturday morning on the skate park. So I don't give any credit or any fuel to it, we'll just say it was inexcusable what was chalk marked or potentially painted on there. We got it scrubbed off, but for anybody that watches and pays attention, we got surveillance and we're gonna get you. It's not a matter if, it's gonna be a matter of when. So, okay, next item we got is Salvation Army.
For discussion, yeah.
Yeah, I brought this up. You know, Brooke, you've only been here 5 months. John, I don't need to hash through this with you. We have legitimately for years tried to work with these folks. I get that their mission's to help people that are less fortunate and donations, but that site over there, even with their ridiculous excuse of a wire cable, when I was over there, was it last week or 2 weekends ago, we got a complaint of a boat dropped off, which didn't exist. I took a look. Outside of those dumpsters, there's just piles of crap sitting around. And we have been on record, we have had them here, we have asked them to put up surveillance, we have asked them to put up better gating. It all continues to go unaddressed, and honestly, I'm beyond wit's end. You know, when the head guy of the Salvation Army continues to do nothing but spew excuses, I don't care what their mission is, who it is, there's no longer any willful tolerance for any of this on my end. And I just want to bring it up for discussion because, quite frankly, I think why it's under sheriff's report, I want to see it ticketed every weekend that there's illegal dumping back there. If it's outside the containers, it's positive. If I lived over there, I would be on the phone every day with our zoning. I would be here in meetings. It is not fair, nor is it reasonable for any of our residents to have to look at that and for us to be provided the excuse that, well, it's only over the weekends and we clean it up on Monday. Not acceptable. So I'm bringing it forward for some additional discussion. I think the only way to get the point across is we hit them where it hurts, and that's in the checkbook. And okay, hey, you're a nonprofit, your money's supposed to go to good. Well, then make sure you're doing good the entire way around, not just, hey, we can allow this to go. No, your mission's going to be impacted unless you get your act straight. And I think that's where I'll end my comments for right now. I don't know.
When we went through that whole thing, we offered up what I believe to be a lot of good suggestions that if they would have just taken them seriously and not have a lot of money and expense to pull some of that off, but it was almost as if it's almost as if they want that stuff piling up. Why else would somebody just kind of continue to allow it and not take some of the suggestions that we offered up? You know, there are other drive-through sites that, you know, Goodwill and other people use, but at all those sites, they literally barricade that property off after hours so nobody can go in and just casually throw stuff off that, in some cases, probably isn't even worth recycling. And, you know, I still think if they had some permanent way to close that property off and said, you know, with signs that said, you know, no admittance after hours, people will start getting the idea.
Or
But,
how about, John, why can't they only take, how about they get rid of the bins and only take donations during their business hours?
Well, that's the way a lot of the other places started doing
Even
it.
other Goodwills and other
Yeah,
townships do that.
that is the way some of the other places do it. So they discourage people from coming in just to drop off. They want to be there when they are there
Correct.
dropping off. So that might be another thing that, you know, we include in that suggestion process. But
Well,
are we getting any more, because we have two issues over there. We have the dumpster divers, and then we have the dumpers. So have we been seeing like any of the dumpster divers coming in and going through the dumpsters or anything?
Yeah, that property continues to be a problem, you know, after hours, our guys are always catching people out there. It's been on our extra patrol list, the midnight guys know that we can routinely catch people out there after hours, and numerous arrests and stops out there for various things. I would say maybe slowed down a little bit over the last couple months with everything else going on, but the issue is still there. Nothing's really been done to remedy anything going on. It's just such an attraction for.
And no offense, but that sucks up valuable resources that you guys are. When I look at it from, it could be additional patrols, out in the neighborhoods, it could be house checks, courtesy checks, whatever. I mean, every bit of 2 years, I can certainly guarantee, if not pushing 2.5. You know, we've had excuses that, oh, there's cameras, but, oh, we can't get a hold of we can't get a hold of Spectrum or this. It's a constant excuse. It's
What
all
about a letter that Ryan and I draft from both the sheriff and the board with our suggestion of only taking donations during hours, getting rid of the dumpsters because of the dumpster diving issue, because of the dumping issue, at least?
I would, if we're gonna do a letter, I don't wanna label it as strictly suggested. These are highly recommended actions that need to be acted upon. Because suggestions, they're gonna get it, and they're gonna thumb their nose.
Yeah, we've done
And
that.
I think quite frankly, playing nice to that degree is done and over because they haven't acted on it. And so if we have to ticket them every weekend for it, you do that. And I think we still push the issue of gates or maybe the surveillance in. Here's the recommended, or we're gonna start to pursue some type of legal action, no different. I mean, it's not as severe as what's over there by the old Myers Lake Plaza, the one lady that stored stuff outside.
Yeah.
She, God, I can't think of her name. Anyhow, where
Yeah.
she's saying, oh, these are collectibles. At the end of the day, they were junk, it was classified junk. But the fact that we tied up Eric's time, so that the time, energy, and cost to us, still to get at the same endpoint. I don't want to see us continue to go with these guys. And you know what? If they want to show up and make the copy, great. So they're not being a responsible or an accountable community partner, and they're draining resources that a lot of other taxpayers pay for that should be
If we
around.
draft a letter, how long are we gonna have a time on there?
Well, they don't have to comply because it's not in the zoning regulations that you can only do that. They don't have to do that. We would be strongly recommending that they do, but there's no real force behind it except, I guess, ticketing those people who come dump or,
But we can still push it no different than
oh, yeah.
we pushed that other lady that had all that crap on the tables covered under tarps. I mean, it's just a little different
Yeah.
setup, and ultimately, through the legal time and expense, we've mitigated that. But, I mean, whether they're modest homes, they're high-end homes, I don't care. Nobody should have to look at that.
I know Tom and I have both
Well, I know.
spoken on many occasions with them and,
Well, Tom's even forwarded me their stuff, and I've made
yeah,
efforts.
yeah.
It's
Talking to a wall.
It's extremely poor leadership, is what it is. So,
Yeah.
I think we draft the letters with strongly recommended recommendations, and we put in there, we want to see these recommendations adopted within 60 days. And we spell out that for every day that we see stuff outside the dumpsters, and we're passing through, I clearly don't expect nor want to see you guys, okay, we gotta hit this, Trustee Hawes is on a ramp. Anytime we're through there and there's crack, sorry. Start taking, I mean, this is the exact reason why a year and a half ago, when we started making changes to the zoning rules about the dumpster, the drop-off containers, I don't want to call them a dumpster. we've made changes to some of these rules because of stuff like over off at the old Kmart 62. So this is not that we're picking on them. We have made a conscious and focused effort over a period of time to mitigate. And most have been good players, but we still have a horrible player here. And no kidding, or all kidding aside, if they're not willing to change, well, guess what? There's consequences to actions. So I would put it in their timetable up to 60 days, calendar days, not business days, so that doesn't stretch over 3 months. I would say 60 calendar days. I mean, that allows it to be mailed, received, reviewed, interpreted, allows them to organize, coordinate, and hopefully somewhere along the line, if they're wise, they reach out to us, because I don't want to be back here talking in 6 months about this, because we either get resident complaints or we see it ourselves driving around, so.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right.
We'll work with Tom and Lieutenant Carver and get something drafted for your review.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Nothing under unfinished business, it'll take us to new business. Ms. Campbell?
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution, whereas the Coronavirus Relief and Economic Security Act was signed into law by the President, and the Ohio General Assembly established a process for distributing funds provided by the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. The Board of Trustees is required to pass a resolution affirming that the funds that we will receive will be expended only to cover the cost of what is consistent with the requirements of the CARES Act. And that's essentially the resolution.
I also move on new business number 1.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is essentially a resolution that we learned that we should pass when we were on the state of the auditor webinar, just as documentation of how the offices were run during the stay-at-home order. So it's a resolution that allows employees to work remotely during the pandemic in order to provide essential services related to the operations of Plain Township government until all of the offices were open on May 26, 2020, and normal business resumed.
I also move on new business number 2.
I'll second.
Discussion, I think it's just important to point out, even with our remote working capabilities, we really didn't miss a step. I mean, the staffing balance worked out good. Who was in, who was out.
Yeah.
Didn't see or experience any spikes in, hey, we can't get through. I think the only thing any of us have really heard was just, folks with the yard, with race cars, but we still got those turned around and
Before it had been opened.
Yeah, more than reasonable.
And what I heard from all the employees is everybody prefers to work at work.
Yeah. Well, there's certain things,
At
water
the
cooler
offices.
talk, you lose the nuances of
Yeah.
nonverbal communication
Mhm.
and so forth. There's actually a lot of new studies coming out, like how folks are drained from all the Zoom meetings and so forth, because you've got to focus so much, how much energy you spend trying to interpret what somebody may be saying or how the posture is, but then there's not any direct interaction. No further discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And then item number 3 is a small business grant that I'd like to turn over to Mr. Hawes and Mr. Wood.
Okay, Tom, Lisa and I met Monday in regards to audit committee. Part of the intent is we do that on a regular basis anyways, but one of the things we wanted to talk through was how do we, what are the approved uses for the approximately 332,000 plus through this, the COVID cares and so forth, how can it be used? A part of that actually allows us the ability to do small business grants up to $10,000 for organizations under 50 employees. it's not necessarily intended to backfill lost revenue, but if it can help them stand things up, we have a lot of flexibility and autonomy in setting the criteria. But that being said, I don't see a need to recreate the wheel. I think, Tom, you had brought up the strengthening start, which is Ray Hexmer, plus we've got the faith-based community, not tying politics and religion here together, right? But there's some set structure there that we think we need to look at for that. Even as you look back here, right, the plaza, there's some perfect examples of businesses that have been hit pretty hard. The costs that they're taking in, just getting the proper COVID restrictions in place, this money could be an approved use for that, or whether it's, say, we know in the township that being predominantly residential, there's some home-based businesses that could legitimately qualify, whether they're daycares, because even the daycares, unless they had the COVID pandemic, certificate approval, our recommendation was going to be, we were looking at about 100,000 of that. Some of the numbers we were saying, well, with strengthening start, just a couple $1,000. Some folks are going, no, I don't need the 5, I don't need 10, literally a couple $1,000. I think this is a good chance where we could help some of the local businesses based upon these funds and so forth. So Tom, do you have some additional?
Yeah, there's a lot of course, unfunded mandates for these businesses to be able to comply with all the reopening guidelines. So there's a lot of additional costs they're incurring, and this would help keep those businesses open, keep the economy in Plain Township strong. And there's a lot of course, Plain Township residents that are employed by businesses in the area, and it'll help protect their jobs.
Part of the reason for bringing it up, one, outside of discussion, just some discussion. One, it's an approved use, but two, we would like to say, yes, let's move forward in the framework of this, because two, it creates a buzz and an inquiry, because one of the things Lisa had recommended, based upon approved use of funds, is we can do a special mailing or newsletter to all of the businesses that we have on list through the zoning office, so they can, because by the time we get that communication drafted, we get it sent out, we get the applications in, we would review them and get funds appropriated. We can't wait till a quarterly newsletter.
No.
Because at the end, it sounds like it's a ways off, but December 30th, the funds have to be expended, because anything that's not there goes back into the pool. And did you say, Tom, the pool then gets, anybody who has spent all their money, essentially, the funds are going to be redistributed out to those entities, which I'm going to hedge my comment with. We're still dealing with taxpayer dollars at the end of the day.
Right.
This isn't one of the things like, ooh, let's burn through all this, because quite frankly, it's still all borrowed money, is what it is.
Yeah, anything unencumbered by October 15th goes back to the county, and then anything not spent by December 30th, we have to send to the state treasury.
So it behooves us to do the most good for our community, and this was train of thought.
Are you putting thinking of like an additional special newsletter to put out? Or
That's what I just
It'll
said.
be a-
Not-
it'll be-
not-
Yeah,
not
I'm
letters,
just saying
newsletters.
like under,
It'll be a communication to
It'll
the
be totally
businesses.
separate.
businesses or just?
It's totally separate.
Yeah, totally
communication
separate,
businesses.
and Tom's working on an application, so we'll give him the link to the application, and then just a brief what it is and what are some of the requirements, because we want to get that out as soon as possible, so then people can start applying.
No, what I meant is just to the businesses, or are we doing it to all the residents?
No,
So just
just
the
to the
businesses.
businesses, because that's all we.
That's all that can apply.
And honestly,
So
if you're a resident that hasn't registered a business, well, then that creates a whole nother.
Yeah.
You're starting to apply for money, so, sorry, you haven't played fair and reasonable to this point. I'm not gonna give you the potential to come in and swoop and grab money now on this.
Who then would audit the validity of those grants? I mean, let's say that we got a request and we gave somebody $2,000 because that's what it cost them to build, the special petitions. And then all of a sudden, somebody realizes they didn't build any of that stuff. It was a fraud. Where would we stand?
It does not fall on us based
No,
upon,
because you're giving it in
based
good
upon the
faith.
rules.
Okay.
Mhm, yeah,
It's
you're,
ba-
and
it's
you're,
a good faith
and the
gesture.
application will contain, how much money do you need, what is the purpose, and they have to give an explanation, so then it's on them.
So ultimately, it would fall back up to the Fed.
Yeah.
And I think we could, based on that, then, I think we could ask for specific things, photos or diagrams or, invoices or,
Something to authenticate
Yeah,
that they work
absolutely.
a legit business.
yeah.
Because, they'll have to, when they sign the application, there'll be a testing that everything's true and factual and
Yeah,
basically putting their name on the line.
So would we, as a board, vote on each one of those? Would we have to vote on each one of those?
If we follow the strengthening start model,
Okay.
which even with their faith in start initiative, there would be a committee that would review it. And essentially, it should be something to the tunes of, okay, here's the checklist of things. Yep, got it. Now, where a degree of as objective application could be addressed, if we've got more applications and requests and there is money, then that's where the committee would have to make probably a decision. And, to me, some of that's, at the rate at which these things come in, we handle, not that, hey, we're gonna wait till the end of each month or anything. It's probably, even if we looked at them weekly, my recommendation would be Lisa from administrator, somebody from fiscal, Tom from zoning, and then, quite frankly, we be made aware of it, because
the board
honestly,
will have to vote on it though, because we have to encumber the money. And then in order to send out the checks, at some point you will be voting on approving those expenditures.
So that being said, I would highly not recommend anybody from the Board of Trustees sitting on it, because it would be a conflict of interest in that you're reviewing and determining
And then
who's
you
gonna
vote
get it, and then you go and vote and
I was
approve on it.
just getting at that.
That's a huge ethical.
Yeah.
Almost
conflict
has
in
to
my-
become a full disclosure
Yeah,
that, just so you know, we voted on something that just so happened that, maybe we had an interest in or something, and we need to know how we can legally do that or not do that.
I think the best thing to do is have the committee make recommendations, and then you review, and we, publicly review, and we make the recommendations, you guys then
To me, it's no different than other certain investments that we make. If Chuck's buying fire equipment, or Joe is, or something for parks, hey, here's what we've looked at, here's the
Yeah, this is
recommendations,
totally
why.
different.
But
Yeah,
that would be, at least
Yeah.
Yeah,
we didn't necessarily talk about that, but that's just talking out loud.
right, because the money's gonna go fast, and I'm pretty certain we'll probably get more applications than we can fund, because just based on like strengthening Stark, and Summit County did a program through the county, and all of them are no longer taking applications because the funds are gone.
but that doesn't mean in October, if we
We
are.
can appropriate additional
You
funds
can
based
add additional
upon.
funds,
Correct.
but initially, we thought 100,000 was safe to start with,
That's
to then
about
see
232,000 for-
where our funds are coming in
Yeah.
and being reimbursed.
And some will have like a scale as far as how much the business can receive, like if it's a single employee type business, they wouldn't receive as much as someone that
Okay,
has 20
yeah.
employees.
Okay.
So yeah, we can,
Yeah, we'll have to
There
create a
were-
ranking type of
Yeah,
And there's
document.
actually a couple things that we did talk about, exclusions, just based upon Tom's accounting experience, because like, say, I'm a landlord, and I register every one of the properties under a separate LLC.
Yeah.
Well, what are they really trying to gain out of it? So there's some conditional circumstances we're
yeah,
gonna have
we're
to
gonna
be,
watch for common ownership and
Yeah.
things like that.
because guaranteed, even with the
Yeah.
best of intent, there will be folks out there trying to game the system, and even though the accountability lies with the federal government at the end, we all know it runs downhill, and I don't want it coming back on
Yeah,
me from that
I don't want to be
aspect,
trying
so.
to do something nice for that township and end up, creating problems.
So- Would it be us then that would officially write the check to that? Based on the
Yes,
fact
it
that
comes-
we are getting the
yes.
funds?
Correct, yeah, the township.
So it would be us that writes the check to them?
Yeah,
But it's tied specifically to that funded
Correct.
funded
Yeah.
account, so,
Yeah, it's gonna be a separate line item.
and even to the point, it sort of shoots off here, but Tom invests that money, any interest income that comes off of that has to be expended right in line with that program. It's not like, okay, hey, we made a little investment income. No, it all, I mean,
yeah.
you get 332 and it ends up multiplying it to $340,000 because of interest or something, well then,
Yeah, and spend it all.
And
So,
even the-
yeah, if you need to pick anybody's brain regarding doing any of that, just,
Sure.
you could.
But
Yeah.
even the newsletter, well, the letter,
Text or
the form, what we send out to the businesses, whatever we want to call that, the document that we mail out, the cost of mailing and all of that
it's all covered.
would be covered by the grant, because it's all COVID grant related, so.
And honestly, in something like that, given the numbers, we're talking a couple $1,000 because we spent
Oh, yeah, if that,
not about $9
Yeah.
for a township-wide newsletter,
Yeah.
so we're talking just a couple
yeah,
$1,000.
but it's still covered by the grant. So
Yeah.
Tom's working on the application, if anybody has any input, we did get the general, was it you, Tom, who sent us the general
Yeah,
requirements,
there's-
which were very basic?
Yeah, the basic ones that have to be included, but yeah, I'll pull the applications from some of the other entities and their guidelines and
Yeah.
put together a draft for.
Yeah,
don't know,
and then
that
we'll get that out as
This is-
soon as
this-
possible.
That was the
That sounds pretty
frequently
good.
asked questions.
Actually, I
Frequently
mean,
asked questions,
Yeah.
plus the guidance for state, territorial, local, and tribal.
Yeah, I think there was some of it in there, there's some through,
Yeah, then there was a separate
through
one
the
that came out.
SB
Online.
310.
Yeah, and then, Tom, on the resolution, you'll send it to our county auditor, and then you'll upload it to the
OBM,
OBM portal.
yeah, we have to register for the portal and
Thank you.
upload it.
Okay.
Yep,
on the surface, that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, we'll
Between
know
Tom
as
and
we
I
get
and
into
Lisa
it.
have
Yeah.
read every possible article and link there
Yeah.
is on it, so that's why we're going, I mean, very rare is it that we have the opportunity to do something like that, and you hear the municipalities typically go, well, we can do this, we give you a tax payment, okay, so you're gonna pay them more in taxes only to get a percentage of it back, and still likely pay them more than what you're paying here, whereas this really, we've got the opportunity to help do some good
Yeah.
with them, but yet not.
And we'll push it out through press releases, social media. When the application's done, I'll make sure that you guys all get it in case you know any of the small business owners. I mean, we really want to get to those people. So with that, that's the end of new business number 3, and then new business number 4 tails onto this COVID information we've been talking about. It's a resolution to allow myself to enter into contract with Mancan to hire 2 seasonals for buildings, grounds, and park at the rate of $12 an hour, and to pay Brady Sabine $12 an hour to clean and sanitize parks as it relates to COVID-19 regulations, to be reimbursed by the CARES Act effective immediately.
I will move on to business number 4.
Second.
Discussion.
This is, Rob and I, we were trying to figure how will we ever be able to open safely given all the guidelines, and Brooke actually sent us all an email and said, hey, can we hire anybody that all that they would do is be, cleaning and sanitizing? That was a great idea. That's exactly what this will allow. Our idea is to put 1 person at each park, and literally, they will be sanitizing the bathrooms, sanitizing the playground equipment. Whoever's at the dog park, veterans, the dog park, and addressing all of that. Yes, they'll also empty trash, they'll make sure bathrooms are stocked. Once a week, they're gonna do, we're ordering some power washers, power washing the equipment in the playground, because it has to be done once a week, a thorough cleaning. And so I actually shared that idea with Jackson, Lake and Perry, and they're looking into that too, because nobody knew how would we open up playgrounds when you have to clean them nonstop.
Because the reality was, they were calling for every 2 hours, which
Yeah.
was just unreasonable. But if you take a look at this, who was I calculating numbers with? Was it?
You mean, as far as the employee?
Yeah.
You and I were talking.
It was about 12, it figures out somewhere between 12, maybe 15.
Well, I just did it real quick.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to allude to. Even if we paid 3 people $12 an hour, 40 hours a week, and had them all work 10 weeks, that's a little under, a little over $14,000.
Yeah, and we'll get
Because we
reimbursed.
get these-
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, it barely puts a dent in that 220.
And
It's
if
like
this
that's
isn't done,
left
then
after.
we can't open. I
Yeah.
mean, these are the requirements, and we can't open, and that's why I thought it was a good idea. That's what we'll put in place. Our issue is, you know, Mancan gave us the rate because they said that's the going rate. They're to get hired for these types of things. We're hoping we can find 2 people through Mancan. If we can't,
So I guess from a logistics standpoint, you say we are going to power wash?
you're gonna have a resolution, hopefully we will, because through the power wash can go the special cleaner can come through that. With the CARES grant, it's on here a little later, we wanna purchase a
Yeah,
power washer
What I'm
at
getting
each.
at, I mean, if we are gonna do the power washing with a true power washer, as we well know, we have to have the ability to be able to do that on those sites, and you can't just do it with static flow water. You have
No,
to
yeah.
have
Correct.
water
Yeah.
supplied to the power washer.
Well, much
So,
like when we ran the sprinklers, even down to the sensory garden, we have the ability at Alino Park, which is the toughest of the 3, to run a hose, you can have a hose big enough to run it to the playground to get the equipment clean. That's not a
But we're gonna
problem.
be using disinfectant through them though, for the bathrooms and the playground equipment.
sure, I'm just saying, we gotta make sure that wherever you put that power washer, where you have that supply coming in, is gonna have enough volume over that distance to operate that power washer, that's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
So,
No
Yeah.
curl hoses.
yeah, you can't, I mean, it's, yeah,
Because it's all chokes in back.
And also with this, we are having the restrooms done once a week with Steramist, once they open. So that's this resolution for you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
yes.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
And that's the end of new business.
It's going to take us to the fiscal officer, Mr. Wool.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is request for resolution to authorize payment of pending warrants, an amount of $780,859.78.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Most of it's just asphalt cost. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I will move on fiscal officer number 2.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless.
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless.
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for May.
Please make questions afterwards. See. Tom?
Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayments for EMS as requested by Ohio Billing.
So moved.
Second.
Second drug. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is request for resolution to authorize the Plain Township Fiscal Officer to request an additional amended certificate of estimated resources from the Stark County Auditor for $77,466.87 and to appropriate these funds as follows.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a request for resolution to authorize payment to members of the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals for the period of January 1, 2020 through June 30, 2020, at a rate of $50 per meeting for a total of $1,300.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yep.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes Fiscal Officer report.
Take us to the administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is just an announcement that you all have a copy of the completed Plain Township Master Plan 2020 update. And I want to thank the board, the fiscal office, and all the department heads for all of their countless hours that everybody expended in getting the information to RPC, then reviewing the information, all the changes suggested, then reviewing again. I think everybody put in a lot of work here that's in this room tonight, and I really appreciate it. We made the copies in-house, so if anybody would like any more copies, just let us know. We were to have a public meeting, however, in talking with RPC, we can't have more than 10 people here, just, you know, given the COVID situation. So we'll get it on our website, you know, as soon as we can, but just a thanks to everybody for all their collaboration.
I love that new cover.
Thank you. And then I removed item number 2, that'll be on for the next meeting. And then item number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment to Kurtz Brothers for hauling of yard waste in an amount not to exceed $4,030 to be paid from Fund 01A26Y.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Set for the month of May.
That's what I was asking.
It is for May. It is.
Wow. It's pretty cheap.
Well, Paul Burke has said, because he's our count of how many, you know, how many we've loaded, and he thinks we're at about half of our capacity that we were last year at this time. Yeah. But the yard waste has been extremely busy. People were waiting for it to open, and they came in with truck fulls, and, you know, it's,
This past weekend was really busy.
Yeah.
We had to come in on Saturday, push it up, because there wasn't enough room, so.
we've had 5,000 visits to the site because Eric can
I'm
look at how many
guessing,
swipes.
maybe half of what we used last year, but I think we might be above that right now. Paul keeps track of every dumpster that goes out, so I can get that exact number, and I can email everyone.
So you think
tomorrow.
we're at half the volume right now that we were last year at this time?
Yes, yes. We had a big push early, and I
Yeah,
was
well,
telling us that
absolutely.
this morning.
I
because
mean,
we
there's a
opened
lot of
late.
factors to that.
You know, there's a lot of factors.
There's a lot less landscapers.
Yes.
Right.
That helps.
We had a lot of trees this time, and Eric and I were talking today, we might have to look at some video. There's a large amount of tree limbs, and
Yeah, that's,
it's not sitting right with me for some reason.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at some video for Saturday and Sunday, so.
Yeah. But half the volume is very good for us.
yeah.
And we're still all day long getting people getting
So we're
cars.
at, what, about 1,600 cars?
We're into box 1,800, which means we have over 1,700 distributed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were estimating roughly 2,000 cards last year when we talked about this.
I think
I
we'll
think
get another push in the fall.
Yeah, I think we'll get there this year at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, with the leaves.
I honestly, I'll bet half a dozen people, and they are so happy with this system.
Yes.
I have had 0 complaints.
Yeah, we get compliments at the counter too. People are so appreciative. They're appreciative that it's continuing with township residents only because they're just happy to have the service. We still get a lot of calls from North Canton and Canton residents. And we let them know you may be in the school district, but you don't pay taxes to Plain Township, so you're not a Plain Township resident. When the year is over, the idea is to review it all at a work session with the board to see where we're at, to see what kind of changes, that could be implemented next year. So everything's still on the table, but we just have to get through a year to have them under our belt and have the knowledge of it.
We need a benchmark.
Yeah, and we don't have that right now,
Right.
so,
Here, Wilder talked to me last week, he really wants to,
yeah,
he said they have no space over there and they really want to work out something.
yeah.
They're sending them all to Lake Township right now.
We
because
are,
Lake
yeah,
Township's
I mean-
gonna be going
Advertising
with
too.
that.
that's
Yeah,
good.
Lake Township did come and look at our site, and they did a tour, and they asked me for all the cost involved, and I think they're gonna be heading that direction. I'm not speaking for Lake, it certainly wouldn't be this season, because,
They wanted to implement it this season, but whether the board approves and they
yeah, it's
appropriate
a
it.
little, you gotta, it takes time
The
and
joint
and
solid,
thought,
the joint
so.
solid waste district has told them that they would help them out, so.
Well, they indicated to us, though, that the funding wasn't the issue.
No, the road superintendent said.
They just don't want to
7
keep
days a
this
week, he has to have somebody
Oh, it's
Yeah,
there.
And the
It's just
volume
it
that
from
they're getting
everywhere.
with us
it's labor
close,
intensive.
Yeah.
yeah,
I've talked, as I say, I've talked with
Unbelievable. He said.
2 of the 3 trustees plus the road superintendent outside of his visit down here. It's just, it's not the core competency, it's not what road departments and staff was created for. And the reality is, it's like even over in North Canton, when I met with Steve Friday morning, just talking a serious township things. Their North Canton residents can stuff it in their trash cans if they want. They may have to filter it out a little bit of time. But at the end of the day, they've got solutions available to them. It's just the fact that, oh, I don't want to have to pay extra for this. I don't want to have, sorry.
They could implement more curbside pickups, because they do that a couple times a year.
Well,
But everybody is going to Lake, and I can't even imagine Lake's volume.
But if Lake were to privatize, Joint's gonna have $150,000 a year.
There'll be a-
North Canton could start their own and
No,
have it
they'll-
funded.
No, the Joint
That's it,
Solid
that-
Waste District will be thrilled to be out of
Yeah,
the
they'll be out of
yard
this
waste
business.
recycling business.
We're lucky we've seen the money in the Joint Solid Waste District the
Yeah.
last 2 years that we have, because Stark, Wayne, and Tusk, Wayne has got no money.
Mhm.
Tusk has gotten, Stark County's pretty much taken 95% of
Yeah.
the funds. So there's no way in Stark County that, at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, realistically has a leg to stand on and
Yeah.
argue, well, this isn't fair. Well, no, what's not fair is what, Wayne or Tuscarawas County, this is what happens when you get something for free for so long, and now you have to pay for it. Somebody pays somewhere along the line, so.
Yeah. But they'll be happy to be done with yard waste.
We have to realize that we were getting all those North Canton.
Yeah.
Correct, that's
And
right.
Canton City
Correct.
residents, so
That's
we were
right.
getting bombed last year.
I
So-
can't tell you how many people, like, hey, how can I get one of those cards? Move into Plain Township.
Yes. Or how many people thought they lived in Plain Township
Yeah.
because they went to Plain local schools? And that's what we say, move in the township. It's a great place to live, work, worship, and play.
What's interesting, when you go down there and watch, are the amount of people that stop at the recycling bins first, do that, and then drive over to go into their yard waste dump.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, they're using that facility like crazy, which is why we put it there.
Yeah. Is that, oh, Sid, I'm not sure if you voted.
We have,
Okay.
Roll call,
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
yes.
Mr. Hawes.
yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Chuck for the fire department.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report. Response times are pretty average there. Call volumes. Okay, all right, item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to grant the request for tuition reimbursement to Eric Wheelbacher for a payment not to exceed $621.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
Mrs. Harless.
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize the purchase and payment of 2 thermal sensor cameras to Warren Fire Equipment not to exceed $5,000 to be taken from Fund 28805 and 01B 08B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of gasoline, oil, diesel fuel from Macintosh Oil not to exceed $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Thanks, Chuck. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the May monthly report. If you have any questions, I'm more than glad to answer them for you.
I think we're looking good on the road paving, cruising along. Am I right? Said we're gonna finish probably the earliest we
This
ever
month,
have.
yeah, I think we're near at least 70%. Haven't been able to finalize the program yet to generate the report until we get some information from the contractor, but I'm gonna guess we're at 70% completion. So, we're moving pretty good.
Further questions for Joe? Okay, next.
Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the Plain Township Highway Superintendent to increase the cost of culvert and drainage installation for residents of the Plain Township from $3.50 a foot to $5 a foot, and increase the cost of the catch basins as follows: hand-built from 75 to 100, and precast from 125 to 150.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Joe, can you just point, it's been since what, 06?
On this part, it was 02, was the last time we changed, and the cost of everything, even the cost of materials we use and labor is just, we just try to break even is all we try to do. So now that we're going online, this is the final step. We'll be able to go online live tomorrow. So this was the final step. So we're paying.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize the Plain Township Highway Superintendent to increase the cost of road opening, right-of-way, and drive-right permit for residents and contractors of the Plain Township as follows: road opening, right-of-way permit to be increased from 50 to 75, and driveway permit to be increased from 10 to 20.
I will move on road 3.
Second. Discussion.
Those were 2006, the last time we.
Okay.
So,
Which honestly, when you look at it, I mean, just even a driveway permit, $20 by the time you figure it's receipted in, it's processed, it's filed. I mean, when you look at your labor, that really is covering your company.
And they will be inspected a lot better than they were before. It takes that time. So,
No further discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Iacino. It's going to take us to the zoning department. Mr. Farrar.
Thank you, sir. First item on the agenda is the monthly report.
Residential still going gangbusters crazy. Most of those are back in Wicker Creek, if it serves me right.
Yes.
And you're already online, correct, with payments,
Yes, we are.
which is new, so
Which is new.
you're online too,
It's
so.
working great. Better than Eric's. I'm sorry.
He's half online.
He's online before we
I
let
got
you
her compliment.
online.
But I thought you told me that was Tommy earlier, Joe. Is there pressure in here?
Tomato, tomato.
But the good news is now you can do everything through Plain Township online, from getting any type of permit to payment to parks, which is really great.
Which honestly, I mean, that's said this pre-COVID.
Dick,
This has really got us to where we're playing it's playing catch up with what.
those costs were actually incurred as a result of the COVID lockdown. I mean, they could potentially be recuperated from the,
I don't know, I'd have Tom look up, if Tom, you can look into that,
Shouldn't trust you.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Which one? The setup cost of the taking payments online
To
because
do it remotely.
technically some businesses wouldn't even touch cash for the sake of the cleanliness.
Yeah, we'll have Tom look into that if we can. I mean, that's why we pushed it this route. That's true.
Again, I think just from a cash controls, to me, that's the best part of the audit, or really
Yeah.
like that, so. Okay. Next item.
If you'll notice one thing, we've reinstituted placing the new certificate of conformance, the new businesses in the township, in the monthly report, so you guys can keep up to date.
Thank you. And if you give those to Marilyn, we have a welcome letter from the township.
Good idea.
Since we haven't done it in a while, I'll look it over with her and, yeah, actually, we will have to redo them because I'll need all of this board's signature on them. And we send
Take
them
our
out.
digital signature.
Yeah, we'll use your digital signature, but I'll just review everything because what we did in the past is simple welcome letter.
No further discussion.
And item number 2 is a resolution to declare items A and through D as nuisance abatement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
If I could say, Vinnie worked overtime. We had 14 coming in to the meeting,
That's.
and we've gotten rid of 10 of them.
I saw it was a long list and then it
Yeah.
went.
But that's the whole value, that's the value and the justification in having that role, because what we can mitigate versus tying up the financial resources,
And
and it's
the
always more.
person in the role
Yeah,
too.
well,
for
it's
sure.
it's absolutely that, but you combine those factors with, we spend thousands of dollars in mitigating these things, and then have to sit and wait to hopefully recoup it with no guarantee
Mhm.
on some of them.
And that'll be all for zoning.
Thank you, Tom. Let's get to the Parks Department, Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is the monthly report. Okay.
Questions?
Item number 2 is a resolution of the Plain Township Board of Trustees to approve and authorize payment to Doug Mahoney Plumbing LLC for the installation of touchless faucets at the Diamond Sports Complex, not to exceed $2,500 from Fund 01B02 to be reimbursed by the CARES Act.
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to approve and authorize payment to Abbott Electric, Inc. for the installation of touchless electric hand dryers at the Diamond Sports Complex restrooms in the amount not to exceed $2,645 from Fund 01B02. I probably should read that again, $2,645, just for clarification.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion, just as a point of clarification, when those things get installed, are we gonna put anything on the wall right behind them? Because most of these hand dryers, when you're drying your hands, friction, moisture ends up on the wall, so is it best practice, whether it's a sheet of plexiglass or something just there?
We'll see to it.
whether-
Is it like this or is it?
No, underneath.
And we'll be doing this at all of the parks. It was just Diamond first. And we also have the touchless hand soap, but that didn't require a resolution. It was fairly low cost. So everything will be touchless in all the parks. So,
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4 is for discussion on the park amenities reopened based on the Restart, Responsible Restart Ohio guidelines. I think Lisa alluded to it earlier in great detail. I think our goal would be drop dead date to open would be July 1, but if we can get it moving quicker, we already have all of the aforementioned parties scheduled to come in, connect fixtures, turn on water, make sure that we can get the inspections and the testing done we have to get done in a timely fashion to get those open. Hopefully sooner, but drop dead date July 1. And Lisa mentioned with the seasonal employees through the CARES Act to make sure that they stay clean. We think we can meet the guidelines. I already have signage ordered. I approved approved it today, so we should have that by the end of the week to post in all the relevant places around the parks for compliance.
So this
And
is
it would-
all
it would-
amenities?
Yes, it would align, well, outside of the splash pad.
Yes.
It would align with the scheduled opening of the shelters right now on July 1st, which obviously, as you know, is out of our control, but based on the way things are going, I think that's a pretty solid guess. We'd be able to open those by end of July 1st, July 2nd.
Crowd's still limited to 10?
Right now, yes.
Till July
Through
1st.
the end of July 1st at 11:59 PM on July 1st.
Then what does it go to?
We're waiting to see.
Require another order extension from
I
the.
don't know, I mean, if they're letting Cedar Point and pools open and,
Yeah, that's
you know,
like
Cedar Point's
300.
gonna have hundreds of people there.
And
I
we
would
will have
like
the
to see
ability
the
to clean it.
pavilions open and,
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have the ability to clean it.
Yeah.
You know, I think we'll be ready. I do. I mean, as you see, you just passed resolution for the power washers, and you know about the hand dryers and the touchless equipment. So I think we're taking all the precautions we can take, given the resources allocated to make sure that we're in compliance.
and we're gonna have the parks on the weekends done too. Those guys can rotate, because if there's, you know, a party from 12 to 4 and one 5 to 9, I mean, we're gonna have to spray, we're gonna have to clean up, so. But we're hoping it can
We'll do our
just-
morning cleanup, and then normal morning cleanup, and then we'll send one in to touch
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Morning. Does that suit the board?
The sooner
Do
you
the
do
drop-
something, the better as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
I think, I'm confident no later than July 1, let me put it that way. If we can get it open sooner, I'll certainly be happy to make that announcement as well, and make those calls. But I
Part of
think-
it is waiting on the
I
water.
would be okay if you have a particular component that's ready to open and it's following best practices. I'm okay, you don't come back and ask us permission, we've already granted that. If the availability happens sooner, I'm good with that.
Same here.
So,
It's revenue to.
you know, if you wanna do that like in phases, or you're targeting one spot, bust your butt getting that ready and then open it, I'm good with that.
Are you, the dog park, the only thing that's waiting there is water? Are you comfortable opening the
I'm
dog
not
park
sure
without
we're
water?
even waiting for water, are we? Because, I mean, even if we open it, they're just gonna know for a while, there's not gonna be any water there.
Yeah.
Right, it's a matter of getting the bodies in place. Once we have the bodies in place,
Exactly, and then we kind of, there are some things that we looked at that, obviously during normal operations, we had some issues like with water fixtures and water outlets, and we went down there and kind of looked at that whole thing, and I think we've got some pretty good solutions.
For sure.
We've got one that I think we're gonna do away with. They've never used it. It sits there all by itself. It's
When he
got a
says
lock
they,
on
you
it
mean the
now.
Parks Department. You mean the Parks Department.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
So Rob believes that nobody's gonna miss it. So by doing away with it, plugging it or capping it inside, and then the other one, we're gonna keep the actual, what do you call those? Dog bowls, dog fountains, whatever they are.
Fountains themselves.
And then the other one, we're gonna isolate so nobody can get at it. But if they would need it to use it for something, it would be there. So I think we're good to go there. So it's just a matter of getting the water on and getting it flushed and.
On that one we're removing, are we gonna run like a,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, I apologize.
that one that we're gonna do away with, are we still?
We're gonna cap it so we can utilize it.
Stubbing it just like.
Right in the ground.
So you're gonna do it underground, and you're gonna do something to mark it, so we know it's there.
We know where it is, yeah. It's just like less than 4 inches from the pad. You do the same dig, whether it's 4 inches or 6 inches or a foot from the pad. So we know exactly where it is. We've dealt with it multiple times. We've actually had to dig out each of the last several years to replace them because they've been abused. So we know exactly where it's at. Joe's guys and I have been over there more times than we care to admit.
Okay.
So drop dead date July 1. If we can get things open sooner, we certainly will.
That's my wish.
We'll just communicate it through our
Yeah.
contacts that we have available to us to get it out there.
I'll put a press release out and I'll put it on social media and ask Gordon to put it on the website. Okay. Okay, moving on, item number 5 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Rice's Landscapes redefined for the playground chips in an amount not to exceed $3,392.50 from funds 01F, 02A, and fund 01F, 02.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
Finally, item number 6 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to approve and authorize payment to Power Washers Direct for 3 pressure washers in the amount not to exceed $19,497 from Fund 01B06 to be reimbursed by the CARES Act.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, these are the 6,000.
6,000 PSI with the Honda motor and the extra adjustments and the ability to use multiple cleaning solutions.
So, and I wasn't trying to be a wise guy talking about how you're gonna supply those, but if you look for supply hose, try to find the biggest diameter that you can get that will go there. That way you're gonna have more pressure coming into the backside.
Sounds good.
So-
The shorter the.
Correct.
The shorter the run, just because, I mean, the pump's gonna only create so much pressure, and if it's sucking it to draw it.
It's bigger, shorter, more.
Yep.
It's either bigger diameter, shorter hose, or 2 hoses going to one location.
Also, this doesn't even come with a hose, huh? So we have to
Well,
take
it's
this-
got the it's got the hose for the wand.
What do you think,
But
from where you're gonna be using these would be the longest stretch for the supply?
Alino Park from the restroom maintenance closet to the playground.
So, what are you guessing, a couple hundred feet?
A couple hundred feet.
Oh.
Okay.
We've done it
Bigger, but
We've done it with-
on those are-
already with the sensory garden in place and different hoses and stuff there. We know we can run it, but we might look obviously now for some different hoses, it gives a little more pressure. But we know we can get there.
Rob, does this include the solutions too that you're
It
putting?
does not include the solution.
Okay, but those were ordered or will be?
We're finding an outlet.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've already got okay.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Don't worry, if it runs dry, I'll circle back.
falls through yet.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
Thanks, that concludes Parks.
Okay, nothing under the law director, nothing under communications, takes us to the portion of meeting public speaks. Do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board?
I have one thing.
Can you please state your name and address for the record, sir?
Eric Haynes, 2600 Easton. So I don't know if the board can do anything relative to the area over by the Football Hall of Fame, but everything east of Clarendon from Fulton to 17th Street, was acquired, and then some of the houses were removed. The rest of the homes that are still in place have been left to dilapidate, and, they've cut holes in the roofs, they've knocked out the windows, they've knocked out the front doors, they've effectively made that neighborhood look like the rest of the city of Canton. I'd like to see some effort made to evacuate the remainder of those homes, because they are now a hazard, and they obviously have depreciated the value of the homes around them. And I know that it's not our property, but it's absolutely ludicrous over there. It looks absolutely horrendous.
Your point on, because I don't know if it was 2 Saturdays ago or when, but I was grabbing ice cream off of Fulton, and I'm like, I'll just be nosy, see if there's anything new.
It looks like Cherry Street.
It looks like
It
a
does look awful.
war-torn,
Yeah.
with all the roof cuts. I thought, okay, that must have been fire training in here, but, hey, I get you acquire the properties, but until you can turn around and level them. Of course, the home's probably not caring too much, because they know it's future, but it directly impacts our residents. And if you drive around over there, the amount of for sale signs, I don't think it's just the fact that it's a hot market for real estate. Folks are going, okay, it's a hot market, I've got to deal with this, I need to get out of here. But if I'm somebody looking to buy, I feel the pain. I don't know, it seems like the folks on the Hall of Fame front have been relatively quiet. Some time over there, it's pretty much crickets
I'm not sure who was in charge of that program, but they basically devalued each of those parcels by about $75,000 to $100,000. They devalued them by removing the residents that were occupied
Because I
there.
had a couple residents actually contact me about the yards by them that are not being maintained.
Sure.
And they said, who we contact, I said, that's the city of Canton.
Well, and that's why I'm only bringing it to your attention that maybe a letter from our board that says, hey, you know, I mean, you are abutting up to our neighborhoods here. You've obviously acquired this property, finish the job.
At the end of the day, they can dump, at the end of the day, they can thumb their nose at, and I'm not saying that this guy, well, you take a stab at drafting a letter on our behalf, and we can do it with an address to David Baker, Hall of Fame, with a carbon copy to Mayor Burnaby, Deputy Mayor Fonda Williams. I also think just given a courtesy copy would probably be nice to the county commissioners. Again, reason being where some of these money sources are, a courtesy copy to Senator Kirk Schuring and to the Stark Development Board. And it's not so we can, hey, push in front, but every one of those is a vested entity with some type of financial stakeholder interest, whether it's with tax dollars, abatements, or anything. And you know what? We have been accused from the very beginning, hey, you've got to play nice in the sandbox. Well, playing nice in the sandbox means we're going to do this and you're just going to like it. Well, I think we should have, I would like to think we'd have some champions and maybe a couple of the commissioners speaking to that, because, so draft that letter,
Yep, I'm making a note right
send it
now.
to us, and then we can review it. I have no problem having my name assigned to it. I'm assuming neither of you would either, but I
Yes,
think
I
that-
agree. I mean, the residents that live, they don't want to, our residents do not want to look, that's an eyesore. They want to look, enjoy their
The crazy
houses and
part is-
outside, and they're looking at high weeds and.
The crazy part is what the hall has spent on each of those properties. They legitimately paid premiums for, but then, you know, through the auditor's office playing a shell game with numbers, technically it's only worth X now. Well, no, Mr. Auditor, you've said that whatever somebody pays for the price of a property is its actual fair market value. It doesn't seem to be what's being applied here. So,
Now, if it was a month ago that they started that project, I could understand that it's gonna take time, but we're looking at the same dilapidated homes for, you know, well over a year now, that literally
well,
are squatter homes now.
and what's gonna be interesting, I don't know, I think it was in today's either repository or somewhere, social media, I saw there was an announcement that they still plan on moving forward with the Hall of Fame event. No offense, I mean, you can only put up so much fencing and so forth, you're not gonna be able to hide all of that.
No, you would think that the hall would want those homes taken down, just, you know, they try to make the rest of the area look nice for the guests to come in, but, well, you don't want them to go, or you don't wanna go west of the stadium, because
I'd rather see it all.
they're gonna feel like they're in
I'd rather see it.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It'd be better off like having the fields up at the Fountains of Edgewood right now with ryegrass planted, at least to look at that versus what's there. So we'll get a letter drafted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else under?
I have a comment just further on Eric's. I had a township resident reach out to me last week about some possible criminal activity at one of those vacant residences. I reached out to my contacts at the Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame Village and expressed some of those concerns and the condition of the properties. I also contacted some folks at Canton Police, and they further reached out. Within a matter of a couple hours, they had the Canton Building Department out there. They've indicated to me that they view it as a problem as well, and that they're going to take some steps through their process to address it as well.
So for the sake of it, for Ryan's, Lieutenant Carver's point, copy the sheriff's office just on that letter so you guys see it along with the Canton Building Department. Is it worth copying Chief Angelo? You can't, I don't want everybody and their brother, but I mean, all we're talking about is a dozen parties here at this point that a letter goes to.
Or are they already addressing it, the issue?
They are starting their process. I spoke with Captain Brooker over there, and within a matter of a couple hours, she had the ball rolling at some various city departments over there.
I still think
Their
we sent
indication to me was that they were highly dissatisfied with what's going on.
Okay,
Whether the hall responds or not, I don't know.
yeah, I'll just add the Canton Health Department on there and the sheriff. And I'll probably ask you for some,
Canton Building.
Canton Building Department, yeah. I'll probably get some information from you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, take us to concerns of the trustees. SCOG meeting updates, we did our meeting via Zoom. In short, nothing significant from the aspect that we had spoke or talked through any backlog activity through the crime lab. Everything's pretty well current there. SCOG signed off on paying the city, or reimbursing the city of Keene for employee costs there. I'm trying to find it. It's approximately $300-some thousand. As well, we approved the renewal of county gas aggregation program with IG Independent Energy Consultants. And signed off, they were four-year agreements. Let's see, I think it's like $230 something for anybody that's Dominion, and then anybody that's Columbia Gas is just a little over $3. Essentially, that's calculated on a value of the NEMAX and inflation, but I had asked the questions if they ever went out to anybody else outside of Independent Energy Consultants, because it seems like there's some competition out there, but
That's who we use too.
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
What they do is they go out and get the bids
Yeah.
for you.
So,
Yeah.
so we had that, and then I'm just making sure. Sure there's nothing else I can see. Budget, they're on track, but things are gonna get a little tighter here. We'll be watching expenses, towards the end of the year. Typically, there's a little bit of carryover and so forth. It's never been a concern, but it's definitely gonna be tight because of the reduction in tax dollars collected, ultimately what ends up to them. So that's all I had on SCOG. Our Stark County Township Association reminder, Bethlehem Township was supposed to do it. It's likely gonna be another Zoom meeting. We're trying to finalize what that program's gonna be. July and August are always off for the summer. The hope amongst the SCTA board is that we can legitimately pick back up our in-person meetings come September.
I would say there would be some way we could do that it would still be followed.
Or just the attendance while on Zoom, it hasn't been there. Let's face it, everybody enjoys the typical decent
I was
meals.
gonna say, you can't get a meal on Zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So-
even for us here at the township, we miss like seeing people and interacting.
Yeah.
And you do
Well,
that a
the
lot with the
takeaways.
SCTA too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The networking there.
Next thing I had was Stark Soil and Water. I just publicly, I want to give Sarah Matheny some serious kudos
Oh.
because over the last month, they always do a good job, but it seems like when things rain, they pour, and she's been getting flooded with stuff, and she is so quick, so prompt and thorough in her detail. So, from these issues up in Bottling with the personal easement for drainage, some stuff's been neglected, to really the stuff that everybody, I think, here on the staff regarding the zipper ditch and, folks going, we're not getting help. Well, they're getting the help. They're just not getting the answers they want because there's certain liabilities are back on them. And she's handled them with just
Unbelievable.
unbelievable control, detail, and
I think she's doing a better job, and I hate to say it,
I know what you're saying,
than
Lisa.
Rich did. We thought, oh, when Rich Roan left, and he's awesome, he does a great job. She truly is a rock star with
I
us.
thanked her again the other day, I just can't say enough of good things.
No, she's unbelievable, and I hope they realize that there,
She's so
or we will
responsive
steal
and
her for something
detailed
here at the township.
knowledgeable.
Because
Yeah.
we've had some tough cases recently, and she's
Yeah.
handled everything great.
I've never seen somebody respond the way that she does.
Easily accessible, so we just publicly give her kudos. Number 4, for whoever can attend here, 4 o'clock Friday, Royal Docks, grand opening, ribbon cutting. They would like to do that ribbon cutting just before they're open.
And we do have ribbon, and we have one set of big scissors. I can bring more, just regular, but I thought they could use the big scissors, but we have that. We can drop it off to them this week. So you're saying 4 o'clock?
Yeah, if we can, I mean,
Friday.
even if we're back there a couple minutes beforehand,
Do you
because
customarily wear just like trustee shirts or suits?
honestly,
anything
just,
professional dress?
honestly,
We
we,
should wear their
what
trustee
It was
shirts.
in the office.
Weather permitting.
Oh, I got all of them, but I just have
did you ever get the, like, there's a, before Broken Apart, we had those greenish ones that were buttoned down.
so very button downs. Is it like a polo or are you talking about all the way?
No, it's like a button, it's an all-the-way button down, I mean.
I think if you guys wear something plain township.
Yeah.
that would be
Well, I
nice.
have- she
As
gave
long
me
as
a
it's,
few,
as long
but-
as it's plain township branding, because we're not gonna be able to color coordinate with everybody else over there, but to have a plain township / trustee.
And is this something we should post on social media,
They
or
have,
they're gonna handle it?
one, they've already started to advertise
Okay.
that they're opening Friday, so we could share that, or we can
We'll
take,
share
we can
their
take, we can take the ribbon cutting photos,
Okay.
tag it to something.
Okay.
Yeah, unless I get out of skill testing, because I'll be at the college all day, but, I'll be scrambling to try to make 4 o'clock.
I will wanna get a picture of it for the newsletter, so whoever can be there, that would be great. And then you can buy me a beer.
Okay, off the clock.
Yes, off the clock.
And actually, I did have one other thing I just wanted to bring up. I know I didn't add it at the beginning, but Edgewood Community Center has posted today, within the last few hours, that after 13 years, they've closed. I mean, it's really a sad loss for the township, but I'm bringing it up. I know we don't have the financial resources, but I think as responsible community leaders, not to put anything more on any of our plates, we need to see what we can find out about that, because Ralph Regula got federal dollars to help. So there are taxpayer dollars that are tied up into that facility. You know, clearly we're not gonna go buy it or anything like.
Nice to have a community center.
I've
Yeah.
been wanting a senior center, so
That
I
would
would
be.
love to do it.
But I think we need to be thinking through and seeing what we can find out. I know one of our former fire guys that used to sit on the board, I can Rob Morton, I can have a conversation with him to see what he can share. It may very well end up being, you know, somebody signs off somewhere federally that, hey, with the sale of the property, X dollars come back to the government. They can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating, but I think the public, one, needs to be aware of it, two, that, you know, Plain Township does not have direct control over it, and no different than we didn't have direct control over Oakwood Square Plaza, but we can help facilitate, make connections to help turn that thing around. Let's make sure we're a conduit, we're a player at the table to help there. So I'll see what I can find out from Denise Allen as well as Rob, and go from there. That was all I had. Was there anything else either of you had? No, by chance? Brooke, anything? Concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
All right, it takes approval of the minutes for May 26, 2020, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
We do have a need for executive session, so be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:25 PM. This regular meeting is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of consideration of 1B, employment of a public employee or official, 1C, dismissal of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 2A, the purchase of real, personal, tangible, or intangible property.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
So what we vote.